Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope everybody's having a great day. We're so glad to have everybody here. My name is Ashley Grigg. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications for the High Point Market Authority. And this is our second Idea Streams webinar, coming to you today from a bunch of different places. We'll hear from Brittany and Candice in a minute, but first, just want to give you a few housekeeping items. We are recording this webinar. If you are looking for your CEU credits with the IDCEC, that's your continuing education credits, then we will be sharing your attendance data with IDCEC, and we'll communicate with them so that you can get the credit that you need for that. We also will be taking Q&A at the end of this session. So if you have a question during the conversation, go ahead and open up that Q&A tab and plug it in there, and we'll get to some of those towards the end. But very quickly, I just want to get to a few other notes, and then we'll jump right into the conversation, because that's why I know you all are here today. This is, I am with the High Point Market Authority. We are a trade show in High Point, North Carolina. And so this conversation today is going to be focusing on that trade, the interior design trade. Candice is going to be talking to her fellow designers and other business owners. And if you are in the trade and looking to join us, this spring market is coming up June 5th through the 9th. Typically in April, this year it's June 5th through the 9th. Go ahead and hop on over to highpointmarket.org and get registered today so we can get your tickets and we can see you here. And if not, hopefully you can join us in October. But let's get right to it. These lovely ladies are going to be joining us today. So Brittany and Candice, that's their Instagram handles right there. If you want to follow them, we certainly encourage you to do so. Our moderator today, Brittany Chevalier McIntyre, is the executive editor for Luxe Interiors and Design. If you haven't subscribed to Luxe Magazine, I certainly recommend that you do so. It's very wonderful to read, a lot of great information for consumers and industry followers alike. So I'm not going to talk anymore. Brittany, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's such a pleasure to be here today chatting with the wonderful Candice Olson. While this esteemed, fabulous, and talented designer needs no introduction whatsoever, Candice is one of North America's leading professional interior designers. Featured on HGTV's Divine Design and Candice Tells All, her signature style is a fusion of traditional form, scale, and proportion with the simplistic beauty of modern design. With over 25 years experience as an interior designer, Candice has imparted her unique aesthetic on hundreds of residential and commercial products and projects. So, hi Candice, it's so great to be here with you today.
Hey Brittany, good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. So I know that we have a lot to chat about. I mean, when we first talked last week, we were like, we got to get right to it. So let's start out. I love to always hear about, designers' early days. I'd love to know how you first got involved in interior design. I know that it wasn't your first career choice, because I learned that medicine was actually your initial career decision. But what happened when you went to school?
So this was way back in let me see, it was the 80s when I graduated from high school. And then I was always really good at art, and I loved drawing and designing. But I'll be honest, I at that time, design, for what I perceived it as, it was something that wealthy women did, or tastemakers, or it was just something that was seemingly wasn't a profession that I really was promoted in my world anyway. It was just seemed so completely out there. I looked at architecture for a while. I knew I had to make a living. I didn't want to. I had this vision of painting, or selling paintings on the street, or it was just, and so I wanted a professional status, and interior design, the professional side of it just hadn't really gelled. And again, it just was something that I wasn't all that aware of. And I always thought, and it was something where, and I'm sure people or kids in school and many people can relate to this. I really wanted to do my family proud. And you do, you know, you go and you be a lawyer or a doctor. And that's what I started off doing. But I always did art. I had this really strong portfolio and I did art. I minored in fine arts as I was doing biology. The tipping point there, I never told my mom. I was raised by a single mom and that had a huge impact on me. So she was a working woman. I never told her about applying for design school. As I was going to university, I knew if I was going to go down that path, I had to get a degree. There's 2 degree programs in Canada. And I thought, it was always in the back of my mind. I thought, okay, I'm just going to give this a whirl. And I didn't think I would get into design school. There were 3,500 applicants, 35 got in. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply with my portfolio and I'm just going to put that chapter away.
Wait, 35 out of 3,500?
And that's why I thought my decision would be made.
Yeah, you have to go then.
Well, but I thought I wouldn't make. So this was at a time when I was looking to finishing up my degree and heading off in another direction. And that was a really difficult thing to sit down my mom, when I got accepted, I was totally shocked. And I sat her down. I said, Mom, I've got some good news and I've got some good news. And I told her about this change in my path. And I remember I expected a totally different reaction, but she said, if you really feel that way, she goes, you have to go and be the best at it. You have to get it has to be a degree. You have to be serious about it. But if that's what you want to do, I'll support you, 100%. And I packed up a duffel bag and moved all the way across the country to go to the top design school. And it was, I'd never been to Toronto. I didn't know anybody. I arrived and I lived in a really shady area of town that was close to school. And my name is Candice, but where I'm from, they call me Candy. So when you live you're Candy from Calgary and you move into this shady area in the big city of Toronto, it was this crazy thing. Anyway, that's how design school happened.
Now, were you ever a child who loved to rearrange your room or kind of, I hear a lot of designers that they say, I was always rearranging my room or doing something different. So I'm curious if you were ever one of those.
It was called, my mom would say, you cannot go out until you clean your room. So cleaning involved, and she has all these crazy pictures. There's one time I did fish netting, on the ceiling and this like starfish and shells. And then there was always this big reveal at the end. And it wasn't a grandiose room or anything, but wow, that room had a lot of different personalities. So
I feel like that's where it starts, really, in your own room. Right?
And you know what? My mom is a very creative woman. She had to take a very kind of direct career path. She worked in the oil business as a secretary, but she's retired and now she's embraced her art. That's all she does. She just paints and paints. She was always doing something, bringing something out of like a dumpster. I remember there was some sort of like Venetian woman plaster sculpture that she had spray painted one time. It was just over the top stuff, but I'm sure there's something in the DNA that translated.
Yeah, you had it in your blood, the creativity.
Fearless and always on a budget. That's for sure.
Well, that's important. That's
important.
That's smart. So I understand you landed your first job with an interior design firm while you were in college, which was huge at the time. So how did you get noticed so early on? And I mean, do you have any advice for those out there who are seeking the same sort of recognition early on?
That was really important. I know I speak with people, kids in school now, and it's tough getting that first break. I wish more programs would do something like we had set up. So we would have a year-end show. So our program was 4 years. At the end of every year, Everybody would have a major project that you would have for this show, but the fourth years would have a massive presentation in front of jury and whatever. So in my second year, I had put up, I had my work put up, and we had alumni. It's brilliant. Alumni come in search of cheap, talented students, and they're to work for them. And I was really fortunate. One of the top firms saw something in me, and I went to work for them in my second year of university, and pretty much worked for them full time. I was pulling some really crazy hours, but I also had to put myself through school, so that really helped. But it was definitely my foot in the door. I worked for them until I graduated, and they assumed that I would stay with them. And I'll never forget going into the president of the company's office, and he said, and again, it was great. It was just such great experience, but I knew I didn't want to stay there after school. And he said, we should talk about, your role when, now that you're graduated. And I said, I'm not going to stay here. And he asked me why. And I think this is really important. And I said, because there were basically 5 senior designers, and none of them were women. And I told him that, and I'll never forget, my face went flushed, because at that time jobs were pretty sparse, and I knew it wasn't the place to be long term. It was a great jumping off point. And he said, I said, I don't see women in higher positions here, and that worries me. And he sat there for the longest time, and he said, you are right, because you couldn't argue with it. So I didn't stay with that firm, but it was a great experience, but incredibly long hours. So that's everything. Nothing's easy.
I'm sure. But going back to your point, it's really important to look at your alum base.
Totally. And then I went from there to 2 senior designers from what I think is one of Toronto's top firms left to start their own business. So I went with them as their first employee. I thought I'd worked hard before. It was baptism by fire.
Wow.
But we went from 1 to 10 employees within a couple of months. And these are firms that only did commercial work. I started off doing only commercial and contracts, a lot of retail. So my love of lighting and all my lighting tricks comes from the world of retail, where you have to take.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Here's a $3 stapler, and you have to make it look like it's $300. And you can make it look like that with lighting. So that next position was with another commercial contract firm, a lot of restaurants, retail, and I was like so many people starting out, overworked and underpaid, but I did everything. And that base of construction drawings and project management and overseeing contracts, and it was such great experience. I would have never been able to do what I did later on had I not had that as the experience. You need that. You can't just go to the corner office.
Yeah. You needed that foundation and that base. I get it. So it brings me to my next question, which is, early in your career, you garnered a lot of media attention for your very unique style and work. I mean, the New York Times once pointed you out as one to watch. So I want to know, what led up to this breakout moment? Really, what was that tipping point? I mean, I think everybody wants to know that.
So I always say the tipping point there's pre-TV and post-TV. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think the tipping point to get my foot in the door was what I just talked about. Those 2 opportunities to just gain an immense amount of knowledge, and in the field knowledge, and handling all the stuff that can go wrong, because I always think that's being an expert. You've just seen everything, so you know how to deal with it. So that was just a great amount of experience. So I'd worked for these firms, and then I after about 10, maybe even 15 years, I went out on my own, doing quite a bit of retail work, but the retail branched off into residential because people that have stores and nightclubs, they live in homes. So it just was only a natural progression. And this was at a time where really to get your work out there, I mean, it was pre, everything now. There's no blogs, there's no Instagram, nothing. So again, working crazy, crazy hours. And the problem when you're working so hard, getting projects done, the idea of promoting yourself when you're working so hard. I mean, every designer that started up their firm knows this problem. You're just so busy getting the jobs done that the business and the books and then the promotion side of it it's challenging to keep that up. My tipping point, I think, was I entered a project into, and this is about 5 years into my own business. I photographed a project and I entered it in a contest, and I won that contest. It was a really quirky project. It was a big renovation project, but anyway, so I won that project or that contest, and a local TV station here in Toronto saw that. So without that effort, without seeing the picture and the story, they like the backstory, nothing would have happened. The local TV station that has a daily magazine format show. So Monday is renovation and Tuesday is therapy, which I also could have done. Wednesday is like cooking. So is that sort of thing. They wanted to feature the project on their Thursday design show. But they had on-air people that were their designers. So it turns out what happened is they wanted to come and film, and the designer that was going to walk through my project couldn't come that day. And I was on site someplace else. Anyway, the producers phoned me and said, we'd just like to come and shoot some footage. Can you let us into the project? I had the client's keys. And anyway, so I came. And I'll never forget it. I was covered in drywall dust. I was in work boots. I think a white wife beater shirt, and I was just frazzled. And I show up, and I kind of tore them through, and I was just frantic. And I think I dropped the F-bomb a million times, and it was just awful. So they took that footage back to the network, the station, and they aired it with bleeping, but they aired it with me in it. And I think there was something that at that time, you have to think of where everything is at a certain time. This is at a time when people were very, they were very perfect on TV, and I so wasn't perfect, and something, I guess, resonated with them. But that
You were real.
It was real, all right. So that led to me doing that show. They brought me on to do some live segments. And so that led into me doing that local show for about 6 or 7 years weekly. And it was so easy because I was on a job site and a camera would show up and I would just say, here's what we're doing. And people kind of got engaged with the process because we were doing design build projects, and they wanted to see how it would turn out at the end. And it became a popular thing. So that was the content, publishing, promoting, the contest. That local show was a bit of a tipping point. The big tipping point for television, because I was doing the show, and I looked at that as promotion. It was great promotion. It wasn't a huge amount of work, but we were running our business. So it was just an advertisement for our business. Then a network, bigger network, not HGTV, but a Canadian network approached me saying, we're looking for a flagship design show. We're starting a new network. We'd love you to do a show. And they came up with these concepts. And I said, no, and you have to think of the time, what design television was like at the time. It was like, here's, $10 and, go knock on your neighbor's door and surprise them and make over their, living room or whatever. So it was more of that sort of stuff. And I said, that is not what design is about. That's certainly not what the profession's about. That's not what I do. The community hasn't worked that hard to get where they are to have it, me present it that way. So I said no. then they kept coming back saying, we know you don't want to do this show, but if you did want to do a show, what would it look like? And then we started talking, and that's how the first show came about. I wanted to showcase real design, real trades, my relationship with the trades, which can be crazy. And that's how, when we did that, it was a big hit.
Yeah.
You know, everybody loved seeing great design and you know, problems solved, and it was and they loved it. We had, I wanted to show it or project it in a manner that was not preachy but fun and irreverent. So that was the tipping point of TV.
Amazing. So there was first was Divine Design, which debuted in 2001 in Canada, and then in 2003 on HGTV in the US. And then Candice Tells All, which launched in 2011. So now let's start at the beginning of TV. Can you tell me about this process? So the process started with them coming to you and saying, what kind of show would you want to do, correct?
Yes, and it was like anything, it was yet another business that we were starting. I'm working with young producers. You know, I didn't have any experience in that kind of TV. So we all had no idea what we were doing. But like anything, you put one foot in front of the other and you work really hard and you learn from your mistakes. So it was, I got married. I shot the first episode in a week, and then I got married that Saturday. And then I do remember the way it was pitched to me is that I would only this would only be a 3-day-a-week job, which was the funniest thing ever. So that, because I still had half of the city's like houses ripped apart, it seemed like. So I was reeling, trying to wrap up projects, shooting like 6 days. We always shot 5 to 6 days a week. It was so unbelievably hard. My husband and I conceived our first child in that year. I have no idea how. Well, I know how, but you know what I'm saying.
When do you find the time, right?
Well, it was short amount of time. Found it. But the television side of it, I mean, it got better. Like every business that you start the first couple of years are really difficult. It got better. It is just an unbelievable amount of work, especially to do what we did. We did 26 shows a season, and we wanted to show high design. So it took 10 months to shoot 26 shows with that schedule. So it just was really labor intensive. But we didn't like it that way, but we liked the end product. Everybody, and I said it's a group effort. I mean, it's my face and name behind the product, but from the production side of it, all our contractors, like it was, we all had this. We didn't want to compromise on the quality and what we were showing. There was nothing on the air at that time that was showing that level of design.
Mm-hmm. I get it. And the same way that, the magazine world can seem a lot more glamorous than it really is. Television sounds the same way. And I understand that, you speak with such passion about it, that it was extremely fulfilling and so enjoyable, but you endured some of the most grueling days and extremely busy schedules. So I'm so curious, how did you manage to balance everything in your life, including the personal life and really still fulfilling your design passion through your businesses? I'm so curious how you do it. I think everybody could learn from you.
It was, especially, and full well, you've got a toddler at home, probably right behind you, like sleeping on the bed. Yeah. It is, anyone that says, you've got it all is lying through their teeth, because something has got to give when you are a wife, a mother, a professional. It is the first couple of years because with Divine Design, I had my 2 kids literally on air. Like it was, it's always a juggle, but my husband and I made a decision, because I tried to dial back because I have a licensing aspect as well. I could not travel as much in those first 5-10 years, really as what was probably needed and required of me. I couldn't. Something would give. I wouldn't. My husband wouldn't be there. My kids would be in jail, and I keep telling them jail is an awful place because the lighting's bad, the art is bad, and there's horrible sheets. So stay out of there. But I really did make it because the production schedule was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The time committed to launching and developing fabric and furniture and whatnot, that's incredibly time consuming, but I tried to make the most efficient use of my time. So instead of flying in and flying out, I would be away for a week or two at a time, get it all out of the way, and then come back. I just really tried to make my travel and my time as efficient as possible. But and my husband now, like he dialed it back then. Now he's really ramping up. Like, I mean, you just, nobody can fire on all cylinders because something's going to completely blow out. But we just did the best we possibly could. I look back, I'm sure every working parent could say this. You look back and you go, I have no idea how we did it because I don't know if I could do it now.
Yeah.
You don't know because you're in the moment then. You just don't know what you know now, but you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I had to say no quite a bit. Like that was really the changing point where before I had the kids, I could do it all. But now you had this other side of you and you had to start to say no and prioritize what is really important business wise. So
that's really important to learn to say no as well.
It's tough. It's very tough when you first start your business. You say yes to everything because you're just so happy that people are calling you. And then you realize that that's wrong because you can't be all things to everybody. You can't be, you can't be all things to all people.
Yeah, you can't do everything at 100% when you're saying yes to everyone. So I get it. So I know you touched upon your licensing line. So in addition to, being the designer, the TV star, the author, you have a few signature home decor lines. And this includes an upholstered furniture line for Kravet, a collection of Surya rugs, also Kravet, a furniture line with Kravet.
Fabric line.
Fabric line with Kravet, a collection of Surya rugs, and then a beautiful line with, York wall coverings. And that's only to name a few. I mean, you're extremely busy. So I would love, because I know that a lot of designers would want to know about the process of licensing, and you have seen it all. So can you please divulge the ups and the downs of producing furniture and decor goods? Because I know that you are a pro at this.
Well, when it comes to licensing, let's pick furniture. I was doing custom furniture for clients for years. So I kind of went into that side of it with licensing and working with companies and manufacturers somewhat naively, just saying, look, here's a piece that I've loved, that I've designed for, clients forever, and just go and make it. The interesting thing with the licensing world is, and designers tend to be, I am, I like the control of my designs, the quality that's put out, the schedule, the budget. I feel like I'm steering a ship, that for the most part, and there's always, stuff that hits the fan, that I'm guiding the ship, I'm in control. With licensing, this is what I've learned. And your control, you're not in control. There are so many different things that dictate the success or even just the production of a product. We've dealt with, let's say we're manufacturing a product. If I'm doing something for a client's home, I get to determine how that product looks in the home. Mm-hmm. For the most part, in licensing, if you are producing a product, you have no control over what it looks like in a retail environment. That can be really hard to swallow as a designer, because sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so great. And that was something that was really difficult to let go of. You're at the mercy of, I mean, design is at the mercy of the economy for quite a bit, but I've dealt with economies blowing up. I've dealt with tariffs, where we produce a lot domestically, but also a lot overseas. So you're dealing with that aspect of it. Factories shutting down for various reasons. Then, even issues like COVID now, like it's just a side of the business that there's just always something thrown at it. And it's been, people think it's just that is the holy grail, and you just kind of give a drawing and the money truck pulls up and you put on your tiara and it's fantastic. It's really, really challenging. That said, I love, especially, I've got some great partners. My partnership with York is wall coverings is phenomenal. We're on our 22nd collection, I believe, with them. And I love how it's very trend driven, and seeing what's out there from colors, palettes, materials. It's on, and with that license, we do a couple of books a year. So I almost feel like we're doing a fashion presentation. And so it's so exciting to see, all the work happen almost in the cycle of a build. Whereas other licenses take a lot longer, and it's a big investment in time and energy and money, whether it's design or licensing, it goes both ways. It's a big investment all the way around. And as we've seen the economy change and retail change, from brick and mortar to .com, every decision is being looked at and made much more carefully than it has been in the past. So it's a really interesting aspect of the business where I literally thought I could just draw a pretty picture and just kind of send it off and just poof, there's a lamp. But it's not. There's a lot more to it. And just when you think you have it figured out, it changes, and then something like COVID comes along.
So how do you get involved in that? Does somebody come to you, or for those who are like, I have a great idea for a line, what would be your suggestion to them?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I know that the television was a major part of that business. So we had people come to us, and then I also have a business and licensing manager that would approach companies as well. So okay. it goes both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I know a lot of interior designers, they would tend to design items that they couldn't normally find in the marketplace. So I'm wondering that when you were designing for clients, was this a big impetus, or would you sometimes design things that you couldn't find?
I think it goes both ways. Sometimes I would, so when we were looking at our upholstered furniture line, I knew there were a few silhouettes that were just winners with clients, but a particular client, like I had the perfect, like family friendly, lush, perfectly scaled sectional for a family room. I had this made over and over and over again. And so I brought that to our upholstery collection. Everybody the sit of it was just perfect. So it was more of a, not so much I couldn't find it, but it was the perfect, it resonated with my clients. So I felt they would resonate with the mass.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any upcoming collaborations or launches on the horizon that you can share with us? I'm dying to know.
We're launching, we just have our latest collection with York, Modern Artisan Volume 2 is out. We have another collection that will be coming out in the next couple of months. Our relationship with York is for the residential collection, but they produce for MDC, which is a contract and commercial company. And I love that aspect of it because I had started off in the commercial contract world. I wanted to bring that, it's funny, I go both ways with, I'll bring commercial quality type of materials into my residential work, and I love the look of the residential wall coverings in the contract world, and I tried to do that. But when I was doing contract work, there wasn't anything as beautiful as our line, you know, with MDC, and I'm so proud of it. It's done really well. So we continue to expand that collection as well. And we are just this week, we've been working on my third collection with Crabbit. We have had a wildly successful couple of collections with them. COVID has kind of put a halt on everything, as it's done with so much development.
People,
But we do, but you know what? It is just like we're doing here. We're figuring this out as we go. We're back on track. Scott Crabbit and Alice and I were, that's what you see behind me. We're in the final sort of production phases of the next collection. That is, and again, it's very labor intensive, expensive to book. But the fabric collection, what I love about seeing the last two collections is, like anything, you start off with CADs and art and inspiration, and that's, just on a piece of paper, and then you see mills, some sampling come in, but when it's all together, like it just sinks, and you just everyone starts to build excitement, as the project progresses, and we're starting to get into that sizzle phase. We're like this is going to be great. So that's the next big push for sure.
That's really exciting. Super exciting.
Yeah, they're a great company. I'm really fortunate that to work with, and that's half the battle, working with great companies that understand the creative process, like I say, my relationship with York, they knock it out. They could just they set the bar on how to do licensing relationships. It's even in times like these.
Absolutely. So I'd love to talk about your business successes. Through all of your business successes, which have been a lot, which are you most proud of, and which have been the most fun?
Proud and fun. Okay. I'm really proud that I was able to, I'm just like it sounds like a cliche, but I'm just like a kid that started from nothing and was able to build a reasonably successful business, even before the TV side of it. I love the work that we do. It's design and build. So I'm not just decorating. It's a lot of construction side of the business. I love working with the trades. I have this incredible respect for the trades. I always say, these guys are and girls are my calling card, and I'm nothing without them. And, there's this mutual respect where they make me look good and I make them look good. And it just is, and when it clicks, it really clicks. So I'm really proud of that. There's a lot of fun that happens that clients don't get to see, because in order to get through a project, a lot of times, there's what the client doesn't know is probably a good thing, but there's this, you need that rapport with your trade. So I'm really proud of that. I'm also really proud of the TV side of things. Because first of all, it was a lot of fun. We have, as much as I talk about, the long hours and everything, our crew was crazy. Like I love to laugh, and I love it. We all had such great senses of humor, and it just was a lot of fun. But I loved that we set out that was the whole idea of doing a show, that I wanted to showcase great design. And we only did a half-hour show, and so that's 23 minutes of programming, and we shoot for 3 weeks for 23 minutes, and you want to condense what design is about. But we showed solutions and great design, that we showcased the trades and what they do. We showed how design can change people's lives. It's just not about the pretty. You didn't really see how the clients lived in the space, but I'm really proud of how we were able to do that at a time when what was on TV was a totally different thing. And I think, and so we just hit the airwaves at a really great time. I think it's different now. Design it's a different focus. Now there's different aspects to design and renovation television. But I really like, and I was on long enough to see the evolution of, here the reality TV aspect is coming in, and that part of it is challenging, but I just want to show great work. You still have to appease what the appetite is for TV viewing and what what people want to see across the board and what networks are saying. But I'm really proud of being on the air so long, being able to showcase great designs. And when designers come up to me and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for, showcasing, what we do and what, the real part of the business, that means a lot to me. It really does.
So it seems like that was also fun too. All of the television and.
Yeah. It's, what's not fun is the, it's different. If you're a guy, you can be like a tubby bald guy and do okay on TV. It's really hard for a woman. If you knew all the, oh my gosh, every time, even when you put up a promo shot of me and I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh, okay, my hair was clipped in, I was wearing false eyelashes, I probably was in makeup for 2 hours. It's like that part of it, I'm telling you, it drives you crazy. For me, I mean, I don't know, for people that are actors or actresses and models, I don't know how anybody can have somebody in your face like that and enjoy it all the time. But that part of it that's the TV part of it that I really didn't like. Who cares what the lighting is like on my face? I care what it's like, as the light rakes down the textured stone. And they're like, no, it's more about the texture on your face, the wrinkles.
Oh yeah, Zoom doesn't help either, right? So we've all faced challenges in our careers. Would you share a time that that challenged you the most, and did you learn anything from it? And if so, what?
We were talking about a time when there was a time in my career where, because I was saying yes, it was that learning to go from yes to no. And I was taking the quality and service, because it's a service industry. It was getting spread so thin because I wasn't saying no.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to just be all things to all clients. So I did have a couple of projects where I was, and it's a really horrible thing when you're in a service industry when clients aren't happy. And that they're not happy because they're not getting the attention and care. And then I thought, okay, it's about hiring some more people. And that wasn't it. The clients wanted me. And so I had to learn to say no. And that was at the start of my career. And then I also had a really large, probably the largest budget project that I've ever worked on, where I felt, no, it's not that I felt, it was the case. Because the client, people talk about, oh, you want this client with a certain budget. And, and I say my best clients are clients that are busy working professionals like me that respect my time and I respect their time. Those are my best clients. This client was not that kind of a client and was really disrespectful of the time and I was not hired to do 100% to just dedicated to them. I had another business, but because of the budget and the level of this, the ego, it's the only time I've had to fire someone, and it was the most phenomenal project. But I said, I'm going to go to my grave with this project. I cannot get a decision made. They're not respectful of the process. There were other people, and it was in this building that needed decisions made. So everyone was putting it on me. And I just thought, okay, I know when I got this project, I thought this is going to be incredible. It is far from that. And I had to fire my biggest budget client.
Wow, that takes a lot. That takes a lot.
You know what? It was the best feeling. As I let it go, because I knew, and ironically, because there's nothing better when you get that, like, I told you so moment.
Yeah.
I know that they went through 2 other designers, and it's the same thing. So I know your gut sometimes really, you really have to listen to it. And that wasn't in my gut. I was just exhausted. So sometimes it's just not a good fit. And that was not a good fit, but it was saying no. And it's not every client is a great client. And you want to, as your career goes on, if you're doing your job well, you can go with the really good ones. You can say no to the ones that you don't.
I think that's the hardest thing to learn, is to say no. And really, it's important to have that mutual relationship with your client. So
I remember years ago when I was doing the local TV station here. And so I was, oh God, this is years ago, 25 years ago. Because you think, this is the one where I had the project published, and then I would do a weekly segment for them. And one of the older, more experienced designers on the show saw how hard I was working to kind of prepare and bring projects to the show. And she said, don't think that television and the work you're doing here is going to build your career, you're going to get really good clients from this. And I thought, interesting. And she said, it will increase your profile, but it will not increase the quality of your client. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that she said.
That is interesting. So I would love some design advice. So we have a lot of aspiring and established interior designers tuning in. If you were to give one piece of advice when it comes to design, what would it be? And if you could give one piece of advice when it comes to business, what would it be? So the first one is design, and the second one is really business.
For design, because there's people just starting their career, and there's people that are well into their career. I think it's really important, and I tried to show this on my second show, Candice Tells All. It was a little bit of a different format. I wanted to show the whys of design, the WHY, like the principles of design, without getting all teachy and preachy, and why something is beautiful. Like, why when someone says that I love that, what goes into that? And I think it's really important for designers starting out and later on to be able to speak and explain to clients in a design language, so that it doesn't become, I just love that. Isn't that just to die for? Those are emotions and feelings. It's not what you're being hired to do. You're being hired for your expertise and being able to illustrate why you love something and why it is to die for, why it is the choice. Is it the scale, is it the proportion? You need to be to explain. And then, because I always have designers say, what if they just don't want to do what I want? And I said, well, it's up to you to explain to them why you want that. Why is that size what you're looking for? Is it about contrast? You need to speak the language of a design expert to them. And I think that gives a authenticity and a legitimacy to the profession. I think there's a lot of this, especially on, like I sort of see some of the even TV shows now where it's just, there's no explanation. It's just like, oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. This would be great, great, great. Why? So, and if you can communicate that to your clients, they have no choice. Like, what's their argument? Like, oh, that's it. That's why it works. That's why we need, I'm working on a project right now. It's an old restoration of an old house that has been a rental, and it's completely gutted. It's a historical, 150 years old, and the client has this collection of modern art, and they have a fear of being too modern and too contemporary in this house. So we're trying to bring the soul of this old house back with some of the more historical character and bring a comfort and a familiarity to it that will bounce off all the newness and the of their contemporary furniture and this contemporary art. So I'm explaining it to why we need the the 14-inch baseboard when we've got 12-foot ceilings. And so it's that why. I think that's really important to be able to explain it. And the business side,
yeah.
Business, I would say I got a couple. Yeah, I think designers will appreciate this. I think it's really important for clients to understand that you're not just walking around making everything pretty. It's design is a business. It's not a hobby. And I think a lot of times, and again, especially just starting out, that clients and they think that you're doing this just for fun. So they have to understand it is a business, and again, to respect your time and a mutual respect of each other's time. But yeah, you got to pay the bills, or else it's not a business. It is a hobby.
Thank you so much for that, Candice. I want to, the last thing I would like to do is play some rapid fire, which is always very fun to do with anybody I'm interviewing.
Bradley Cooper. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Brad Pitt. No, so I'm going to say a few things, and you have to, say the first thing that comes to mind, because this is fun. Okay. If I had to pick one design rule, it would be.
Oh, a design rule, or I'm making up my own rules now. One thing I keep saying over and over again is I'm designing for real life. I'm not designing for Instagram.
Good. That's a great rule. Design, yeah, because everybody's going for the gram. So
yes.
It's like, go for the real life. My design icon is.
Oh gosh, I have a ton. I love Bunny Williams. She's got this timeless classic eye. I love Ralph Lauren, because he's been able to stay an icon in so many categories for so many years. He has this, if you can stand the test of time in all those categories. Philippe Starck, I love his sense of humor and his cheekiness. And again, in so many categories, I really respect a designer that can, do architecture, product design, graphic design. I think and still stay relevant and very today.
My one guilty pleasure is.
One? Oh gosh. It's usually something people always say, like The Bachelor or Bachelorette or something. Oh, you know what? I have a thing for the America's Got Talent, or the British equivalent on YouTube. They have like the 10 best performances, or 10 like tear jerkers. I watched on the weekend. We just kept looping it on the TV on YouTube, and we were all just bawling. I will torture myself with these auditions, but I love it. I love it.
My favorite cocktail is.
Oh, that's easy. Oh, white wine before 11 a.m. and red after.
Perfect, right? I like that. My favorite color combo is.
Oh, easy. It's not out here. I love blue in all shades, but a smoky, misty blue. Why? Because I would never say love it without explaining why.
Okay.
Because today's homes, this is a wooden top. There's so much wood and warmth and furniture and finishes in today's home, that visual warmth. That blue in whatever shade, it's that contrast. It's cool, and it tempers all those warm shades. So it's funny doing product design for so many years. We've always had a blue in some various permutation and combination. And it always hits with consumers, that combination blue, especially with all of our natural materials, rattan and oak and fumed oak and so smoky blue.
Amazing. Okay. Would you rather use chalk paint or high lacquer?
High lacquer.
Meet Billy Baldwin or Elsie DeWolf?
Billy Baldwin.
Take a hike or bask by the pool?
And you know what? Take a hike.
Yeah.
I'm too old to prune up by the pool. I did enough of that in my 20s with the foil.
Yes, we're all regretting the amount of sun that we've gotten, right? It's like if we knew what we had to do to our skin now.
Baby oil, foil.
Foil, yes. Have a client with taste and no money, or a client with money and no taste?
Oh, I've had both. I'll take the first.
Okay, so with taste and no money, yeah. I think that.
I had the latter, and that was the one I fired.
Okay, I have a few more. It's this or that. So traditional or modern?
Traditional, because I think the root of all great design is it's rooted in traditional proportion and scale. And a big part of my philosophy in all the design work, including licensing, is to start with those classic proportions and those elements that make something work and look beautiful, and then stylize it, reinterpret it, inject new modern materials and treatments to make it very today and current, but still have the proportions and the classic lines read through. So it's a big part of my philosophy. So I'm going to say, if I had to pick, traditional, because I can make it look new.
I agree. Sofa, you go for form or for function?
Depending on the space, I'm always going to start with I overthink everything. Yes, if it's look at this beautiful room, I'll just go for form. If it's the great room, family room, you have to go for function.
Open or closed shelving?
Combo. Open.
Combo, both.
Open
it's so hard to pick one. It's so hard to pick one. Velvet or linen?
Oh, velvet.
Velvet. Wallpaper or paint?
Wallpaper.
Of course, I knew you would say that. So thank you so much. That's all that I have. I know that we have some audience questions here. We have a lot.
Oh God.
Yeah, we've got a lot. Let me see here. Oh wait, I have them right here. Okay, so we have a question from Wendy, and she recently graduated with a certificate in residential decor. And she's been working for the past 3 years as a part-time in-store color consultant for a major paint company, but she would really love to start her own decorating business. So what advice do you have for someone who wants to start their own decorating business?
So that is the $1 million question. I think we were talking about the tipping points and getting yourself out there. I think there's so many great opportunities now with social media to get yourself promoted, to get people to find out about you. Years ago, this is interesting. Years ago, if you did a really good job for a client, they never told other people because they wanted to keep you for themselves. Like that was kind of an interesting way of not building your business. If she has any work that she's done, any conception, even drawings, I think with bloggers and Instagram, I would reach out to bloggers because everybody wants content now. With everybody online putting out content and information, there's this thirst for it. And this is a philosophy, whether you're just whatever business you're in, if you can make someone else's job easier, make it easy for them to promote you. For example, so I've just put out this pure green juice. I'm going to contact a blogger. I'm going to say, here's what I've just done. I've created this pure green. And I'm going to write the story. I'm going to say, here's the 5 tips that went into creating that, like clear and concise, so that it makes them easy to want to use your content. I mean, you know, you're in the editorial world.
Yeah. If somebody does the work for me, why not?
Right. Like, and I remember that was when I submitted the work to for this, even the contest. It made it very easy to understand what the project was about. It was easy for them to, you know, write it up, promote it. The photography was there. So give them a package so they can just, you know, put it out there. You obviously crediting you, but like, don't just say, here's something I've done, and make them have to think about how to structure it. And so make the sizzle, you know, give them the sizzle. I think that's really important. There is this thirst for content. You just have to streamline people's efforts right now.
I couldn't agree with you more, because when I receive a package of something that's been so well put together, it makes it so much easier for me to digest and to put out there. So I agree as an editor about that people want that. So
yeah, because you have to move on to you've got a million things, and it's just like, it's not just so sweet when it arrives. You're like, yes,
with like a bow, you're like, great. Yeah. I just have to proofread it. So and
then it goes, let us know when you have more. So, and then linking up to their Instagram, like I think it's a lot easier than what it was before, because it was just word of mouth and, you know, the occasional magazine article. So it's a lot easier. You just have to get yourself out there and photograph your work, which I know is it's easier now with phones, but it just, when you're busy, it's tough to think of that, but
tough. Yeah. So Darcel asks, do you practice diversity in your firm? You know, BIPOC with.
We have, I mean, we live in Toronto. It is the melting pot of the world. We have every color, shape, size working with us and for us. And so the answer is yes.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Someone has asked, I have a fine arts degree that I earned in 1975. Interior design has always been a career goal, and they retired a year ago after working for an affordable housing development nonprofit for 26 years. They have completed their first year at community college, and the road ahead, it seems really long. At 68 years old, am I too late for a career change?
Oh gosh, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I mean, I think it's, you know, we have this discussion all the time, because I'm in my 50s now, and everybody is going through a little bit of a retool in their career. And it's, I mean, obviously they've had some background in the industry of some kind. And I think that's not something you want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want to definitely use those contacts, but I don't think, it doesn't sound like they're completely starting over in a new field. They're just starting in a different direction. That's something I wish design that I knew back when I was in high school, all the different aspects of design. There's so many categories, and so it really is. I don't think you should start from scratch, but I think you've got a great foundation to build on. And to use that experience, you know, going forward into something, and just fine tune it into something that you really love and are passionate about.
Yeah, it's never too late, right? Never too late. Who is your favorite designer? If you had to pick one.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go back to Philippe Starck. I love a good laugh, and I love when design is provocative and cheeky, and I do love that he has been around for decades and still doing phenomenal work in so many different sectors.
After the first time you appeared on the local TV show and were yourself, did you change or tweak like when you were really being you, did you at all change or tweak your personality for future shows or other TV opportunities?
That is a great question. The local show was very good training, because it was a live show. So as much as they were doing a tape segment, or the segment that was submitted and it was edited and bleeped out, when I appeared on the show, it was live. And they put me, there was always 2 designers. So there was a roster of 6 and they'd alternate us. And they put me with this, I'm going to call her the Grande Dame of Toronto design. She was the head of our professional association. She was well into her 90s. They had to put a 5-second delay on the show because she had a mouth like a trucker. But they paired the 2 of us together. And I'm sure because they thought, okay, Candice is probably going to grow into become her. It was such a great combo. And she was, and more often than not, I would do the show with her, and we just had this great chemistry, I guess. Mm-hmm. And she was always so real. And I thought in this, again, at that time, and there still is, you have to be, there's so much of the same. So if that's what people liked, then do more of that. I try to be as real and down to earth and unpolished as I possibly can. Because God knows I'm just so shiny and squeaky. but I'll be honest, when the show was sold to the US, we did have to change it a little bit because our network here was a little more here's a great example. I would say pot lights. So when our show would air in the US, we would get all of this feedback from the network saying, people think that you can't say pot lights because people think that you are using them to grow pot.
Yeah. So what did you say in the US?
We had to say can lights, recessed lighting. We couldn't say bar. At the time, we couldn't have booze on TV. Now it's like, people are in their tubs, like having on design television.
Oh my gosh.
Say bubbly beverage center. I kid you not. This was the 90s. So, but the network changed. It just was, so we had to do some changes just with the show. But I always, I thank God for editing. That's all I can say. We have if you really want to see a great show, which you can't, it's the outtakes of every single episode that I've done. They would do a year-end reel and air it at our wrap party. I haven't even seen half of our shows because once you're doing it, you're so tired of it. I will watch those wrap reels over and over again. They're so funny. There's the funniest nudity because our cameraman would, the beautiful reveal where the drapes part and I'm doing a voiceover where you get to overlook the view. And so they would shoot the afters, the beauties, and kind of in various stages of undress and position themselves in the beauty shots. It was just the funniest stuff. So we always were real, and then editing made us seem much squeakier.
So someone is asking about insight on where lighting design is headed, since ring lights and lighting accessories have become necessary over the past year. So, and this person says, Candice, your use of lighting is masterful, in my opinion, which is such a wonderful compliment. And it's so true. So where do you see lighting heading? I have a ring light here, so I get it. I know it. Where is it heading?
I think that's really great that I know that showing good lighting on my show was a big part of what we wanted to do, and that was why we had Chico, our fantastic electrician, who was my electrician for years, on. It is an exciting time for lighting and also a bit of a confusing time. What I'm seeing in lighting, and the challenge comes from, we've got LED lighting now where you can put it anywhere, and just the effects, that you can do under cabinet lighting and shelving and soffit and cove, and you can just put lighting where you never possibly could have done it before. What I'm finding is sometimes it becomes too much of a design element and a decorative element. And when I'm seeing a room overall, the temperature quality of lighting between lighting sources with LED and halogen can be a little jarring. And I think the challenge is not to get too excited about the capabilities of being able to put light everywhere, because when you put it everywhere, you like I said, when you light everything, you light nothing. So it is an interesting time. I think we have to practice some restraint because it's been so hard to do some of these lighting effects. But without exception, you have to look at the overall presentation of lighting, overhead lighting, sconces, lamps, decorative lighting, accent lighting, and have the quality of the light read the same. Not blue, not orange. It's controlling that temperature quality that is the real challenging aspect. But it's an exciting time. Boy, the stuff that we can do now it's unbelievable.
Another question is, how were you able to find good trades workers? Any tips? We moved after I built a team. Starting over, it's really daunting, and GC and builders hold their resources tight.
Yes. Well, anyone that knows me knows that I always said finding a good builder is really hard. So I married mine.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's a commitment, but at least they don't get away. No, all joking aside, it is really challenging. I say we found the guys that work with us that we've had for years by working with all the bad guys. Like that's just what experience kind of gets you. We are really good. Our business with COVID is unbelievably busy right now. Our guys, I know that they're getting offers to go to a million other places, but we always keep a core group of guys, and then we'll subcontract out various things. But those guys know that they'll always have work with us, always, even when there wasn't work and there was like slower times. Or, we have an incredibly talented trim carpenter that just wants to go off and golf for a month, a year. So that's the deal. He does incredible work for us, and we let him go off and do his passion. So it's like mutual respect. I love our trades. I don't want them to go to anyone else. And so we keep them. Like we have so we try to keep various projects going. So we have a massive project right now that's a combination of institutional and it's in a rural setting, but it's a massive project. Then we'll have several smaller renovation projects, and then we're doing a development project. So we've got a cycle where all the guys can go from one to the next, and we'll plan we'll plan it with clients so that we can keep our guys busy first quite often. So it's more so us telling the clients when we can get it done. And if they want us, that's how it's got to be. But we've had some of our guys have been with us for 10, 15. We've even got their sons now. We've got an electrician whose son is now in the business. So if they're good, you recognize it because you've worked with the worst. And you try to keep them going and keep them going with what keeps them going. If it's golf for a month out of the year, then it's golf.
Let them do it, right?
Let them go.
Yeah. It's compromise, really.
Yes.
Camilla says, my daughter, who is also a creative, says to me, since I've started my design business about 2 years ago, you are always busy, Mom. I wanted to do this or that, but you had to work. How did you involve your kids in the business so that there was no mom guilt?
Oh, no, that's wrong. There's always guilt. My mom even said that. She said, the minute you are a mom, it is all about guilt. It's always, I'm every day, there's not a day without guilt. If I was Catholic, I'd probably be even feeling more guilty. No, that's right. I've got to get my son in 10 minutes. I'm going to be late. I'm so guilty. Like it's, I tell especially I've got a daughter who's graduating this year and I've got a son who's 15. If you want rich, full lives, this is what a rich, full life looks like. That means, with my daughter, I said, you will probably be, you're going to be a professional something, and then you're going to have your family, and you're going to be a wife and a mother. And it's about juggling and my tagline with parenting is just figure it out. I'm not going to figure it out for you. I'll assist you and direct you, but you got to figure it out. And this is, life is full, but it's not always easy. And I think, I saw my mom work often 3 jobs growing up. And I know that had, that sunk in. That's what she had to do. And that's just what you had to do. Sure, she felt guilty, but I don't think that's necessarily wrong. That's reality, I think.
Yeah. No matter what, I feel like you feel guilty, right?
Yeah, something is always going to fall by the wayside. Husband's not going to get enough loving. The kids aren't going to get enough attention. The business is not going to get enough of your focus. So, I think I have a philosophy now. If you can do all of it, which is the key to have a full life, if you can do it all at 75%, that's 25% over a passing grade. You're doing okay.
So another question is, do you have a book in the pipeline?
No, we did, how many books? 6 or 7 books. I truly believe that all of the online resources have just consumed a good portion of the book, the book business. And and when people do books now, it's for a different reason. They're trying to do like a clear, concise, almost like an anthology of their work. And I've been there and done that. So that's, oh gosh, I can't put that on my plate.
Yeah, you have 6 books. So kind of like,
yeah,
I get it.
So
it
won't be a parenting book, and it won't be like a diet and a fitness one, or, I'm trying to eat better. I'm looking at my Pure Green thing here that has all this stuff in it, kale and cabbage. And then I'm thinking to myself, it has 260 calories, which is more than a glass of wine. So you know what? What's the point? Health.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Candice. I so enjoyed our chat. I had a great time.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much. And I want to hand it over back to Ashley.
Thank you, ladies, both of you. That was so inspiring and informational. That was packed full of a lot of stuff. I hope people go back and watch that recording for sure. We'll be dropping it on our YouTube channel. It'll be on our website, highpointmarket.org, if you want to catch up. Let me just throw up here their contact information again for Candice and Brittany, so you can follow them on Instagram and find out what they're doing next and what's coming up. Also, just real quick, what's coming up for our next Idea Streams webinar? We just announced it this week. We're going to have an incredible lineup coming up April 15th, talking about design beyond the walls. Of course, right now with COVID, that's impacting everything. Everybody wants to be outside. And so how does that impact the design world? We're going to talk about it. So I hope you'll join us. Get registered for that at highpointmarket.org. Lady Brittany and Candice, I certainly hope to see you at High Point Market in June or whenever you can make it here. It's been a real treat. Thank you for joining us for this time. And Candice, we won't make you late to go pick up your son if you actually have to leave in 10 minutes. So thank you all so much. Take care and have a great day.
Bye, everybody.